Hey guys, for this video today, basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about what you guys can expect from me in 2020. Oops, sorry, just trying to fix my camera here. But I'm going to talk about that a little bit, and I'm going to try and bring, for the most part, 2019 to a close here on my channel, as we not only are getting set to start a new year, but we are also going to be starting a brand spanking new decade. And in this coming year, it's going to be 2020. And here's the thing about 2020. When I was a kid growing up, we used to always hear talk about what the world would be like in 2020. And now, where I live, we are about 6.5 hours away from the strike of midnight, the end of 2019, the start of 2020, and the start of a brand spanking new decade altogether. So, I gotta be honest, folks, I think that the new decade is definitely going to be interesting in a lot of ways. But what I want to do is I will talk about in this video what you guys can expect from me in 2020. Now, truth is, guys, today as I'm filming this, it is New Year's Eve, and truth is, I just got off of work, and today was just a brutally busy day for me. And the thing is that, you know, folks, after such a crazy busy day, I thought I'd sit here and film this video before I go home, because you know what? To me, this is a good time to film this video, and it gives me a chance to just unwind a little bit after a really long, crazy busy day at the quote-unquote office. Now, excuse me. So, I'll talk about the channel in terms of what you can expect from me in 2020, but also, and just ignore that, I was just turning my car on for a second. Well, to turn the heat on. But the thing is what I'll do is, not only am I going to talk about the channel in terms of what's coming up in 2020, but, or at least what you can expect from me in 2020, what I will do is I also want to talk about the channel a little bit, and I'm just going to unwind a little bit and just talk about some random stuff that I usually don't talk about. And if you've been following both the Spengler Cup and the World Junior Hockey Championship like I have, and you're from Canada like I am, you know exactly what I'm going to be talking about today, and that I'm very happy about. But anyways, folks, let's start off with the Spengler Cup, because honestly, folks, I am so happy with Canada winning the Spengler Cup. In fact, their victory today over, I believe they're called Oceanary Trinec, or Oceanary Trinec. I know their last part of their name is Trinec, which is where they're from, in the Czech Republic. But Canada defeated Trinec 4-0 to win the Spengler Cup today. And as a Canadian hockey fan, I am just so proud of how our team played. I am really proud of how our team played. And, you know, seeing Canada break the record for most titles by any team that's ever participated in the Spengler Cup, in my opinion, that's really incredible. Now, in terms of the Spengler Cup, I mean, I cannot get over just how good Canada performed. After all, after all 4 games that they played, Canada won those 4 games with an overall score of 19-2. They only allowed 2 lousy goals all tournament. To me, that's almost unheard of. And I've got to say, folks, am I ever proud of our Spengler Cup team in Canada? Our Canadian Spengler Cup squad. I mean, what an incredible not only an incredible performance this year, but the fact that they've now won, I believe, 16 Spengler Cup titles since playing in the Spengler Cup in, I believe, around 1984 or something like that. I believe it definitely in the 80s. That's when the Spengler Cup organizers had started inviting Hockey Canada to start creating a squad of Canadian players that are playing in Europe to come together and play and participate in the Spengler Cup. So, you know, I am extremely proud of our Canadian team. And I got to tell you, folks, watching Canada play as well as they did this year, my goodness, was it ever great to watch. It really was. But speaking of the Spengler Cup, though, I've got to be honest, I was really, really happy that Trinech defeated the team that they were playing in the semifinals, who are called Ambri Piotta. And they are, I believe, based out of the Swiss Hockey League or which league? I believe it's the Swiss Hockey League. They're the same, I think they're the same league that, or are in the same league, sorry, that HC Davos, the annual host team, plays in every year too. So, I believe Ambri Piotta is in the same league as HC Davos. I'm not fully sure, so if I'm wrong on that, please feel free to correct me. And, you know, I gotta say, I am extremely, extremely proud of that with Canada and their performance at the Spengler Cup. But back to Ambri Piotta, I've got to confess, I was really, really concerned that Canada would be stuck with Ambri Piotta in the finals, because from what I have heard, Ambri Piotta was a hot team coming into the Spengler Cup. And am I ever glad that Trinech defeated them in overtime yesterday to go to the Spengler Cup final instead of Ambri Piotta. I gotta be honest, the thing with Ambri Piotta is that Canada did not play them in the round robin, and I was a little bit worried that maybe another team, that they have a new opponent for them, including the fact that they have been a hot team coming into the Spengler Cup. I was thinking, oh shoot, Canada might be in trouble, but thankfully Trinech took Ambri Piotta to overtime yesterday, and they defeated them in overtime, so they got to play the game instead. Now, the thing about Trinech is that Canada did defeat them in the round robin, no problem. So I was thinking, well, if Canada plays Trinech again, even though Trinech will know how to play Canada now that they've been stuck with them once, I kind of figured that, you know what, they haven't had the best, they didn't play the best against Canada, and Canada did seem to have their number from what I saw in that game. So I was thinking to myself, you know, what if Canada plays them again? And you know what, I'm glad that they did, because I kind of figured that if Canada could just avoid Ambri Piotta, that they could probably have a better chance against Trinech, because I know that Canada had their number the first game. Now, just because you have a team's number in one game doesn't mean you're going to have their number in the second, but I don't know. I kind of had a gut feeling that if Canada was stuck with them instead of Ambri Piotta, that they'd have a better chance, and my gut was clearly right, because Canada defeated Trinech 4-0, and I got to tell you, folks, I couldn't be happier. And you know what? Canada just played so damn good in this tournament this year, and last year they lost the final in a shootout. And that's something about European hockey and IIHF hockey that I just cannot stand, is that they decide major tournaments and playoffs with shootouts. And I'm sorry, folks, I don't agree with that. In the Spengler Cup, if they have to have shootouts for the semifinals and the quarterfinals, then whatever, because their tournament's so short. But if they're gonna have a championship game, well, it should be sudden death. If you're gonna have two teams tied after 60 minutes in a championship game, even in the Spengler Cup, which is only a 6-day only tournament anyway, you know, you should at least allow the championship game to be decided by whoever scores a goal rather than a breakaway competition. I'm sorry, folks, but I don't like that. And I think it really pissed me off last year when Canada lost the Spengler Cup final in a shootout. If they lost in sudden death overtime, I wouldn't even be talking about it in this video, but because of that, I am. But also, one thing I want to talk about that I found really interesting was that I was watching one of the Spengler Cup games. It was, I think, either yesterday or the day before. I think it was on Sunday. Maybe it was even yesterday, but one host on TSN, Vic Router, was saying that, I can't remember what he said specifically, but he said that something about how maybe the Spengler Cup organizing committee should reconsider who they invite into their tournament every year. Because I think the reason he said that, if I'm not mistaken, is because the teams, I believe, from the KHL haven't really done very well in the Spengler Cup. And I found that really surprising that Vic Router was just so blunt about what he said about that, which really caught my attention. I'm glad he said it, because to me that's an interesting conversation too. I mean, I don't know who else you would invite. I think what he said had to do with how Salavat Yuleev Ufa, of I believe the KHL, performed in the Spengler Cup. And now I know I've seen Ufa in the tournament at least 2 or 3 times now, and I know that each time, I can't remember, but I don't think they've ever won. Now, I think the format is fine the way it is, but I don't know. I mean, I don't know who the Spengler Cup committee would invite beyond what they already invite. But, you know, as I do say that though, I mean, I'm sure they could find, if they really felt that a change was needed, I'm sure they could invite somebody, and I know somebody else would definitely come in. In fact, in recent years, I've even seen the Rochester Americans of the American Hockey League participating in the Spengler Cup, which is really cool. So, could they go back to that again? I don't know. But I think the 2020s might be an interesting decade for that tournament too, because, you know, I could see them maybe making a change to the teams that they invite. I know that Davos and Canada are certainly not going anywhere. They better not. And you know what? I think the Spengler Cup gets a lot of attention and ratings here in Canada too. And I think they know that us Canadians love the Spengler Cup. Overall, I know I do. And I've enjoyed it every year since I started watching it about almost 10 years ago now. But yeah, I mean, it's a great tournament every year, and I'm just so happy that Canada won, and I'm very proud of them. Now, moving on to the World Juniors, I do want to talk about the World Juniors so far as well. I gotta admit, I'm still in shock that Canada got spanked as badly as they did against the Russians, 6-0. That was brutal. But you know what? I think about I think a bunch of jaws are about to hit the floor with what I'm about to say, but I'm going to be honest, folks. I'm actually glad that somebody spanked Canada. I'm serious. You guys are probably thinking, oh my God, dude, have you lost your mind after a crazy holiday season at work? Or what are you smoking? No, I haven't smoked anything, and no, my mind is not totally shot yet. It will be if I have a drink or two when I get home tonight. But anyway, my point is this. Sometimes I feel that Canadian teams can get cocky. And it's not a good thing. Have you ever heard of the old classic tale of the tortoise and the hare? How the hare gets cocky and thinks, oh, I could beat the tortoise. Well, technically, on paper, the hare wins absolutely every time. But in the story, the hare gets so cocky, I think the hare goes and takes a nap, and the tortoise keeps on pushing and keeps on persevering and keeps toughing it out. And the tortoise won the race. Just as the hare is taking his sweet ass time, the tortoise crossed the finish line and won. I gotta tell you, now the reason I bring that classic old tale of the tortoise and the hare up is because sometimes I think Canada, or the Canadian players, especially the World Junior teams, I'm sure, I think sometimes they can get a little bit cocky and be a bunch of human hares. I mean, as in rabbits. Or be like the hare in the story. Because, I know in most 99% of the World Junior games that they play against teams such as, or against specific teams. 99.9% of the time they play specific teams such as Latvia, Belarus, and Kazakhstan. The players have an assumption that by showing up, they're just going to win. They just have to show up and score like 4 or 5 goals in the first period, and it's just basically a game of keep away for 40 minutes. You know what? I understand that some of the countries in the World Juniors and even in the World Hockey Championship, Canada can take care of no problem. But just because you can take care of them on paper no problem doesn't mean you necessarily will. When you get cocky and when you get carried away, that's where they'll come up from out of nowhere and surprise you. For all of the wrong reasons, of course. So, I know I sound a bit crazy saying that, I'm sure. But you know what? Canada had an impressive performance against the Americans on the opening game. And, I gotta say, I was very impressed with how Canada played against the United States. Because the United States, I don't know about you folks out there, but I think that in the past 10 years, the Americans have really done an exceptional job of producing World Junior hockey teams. They've done a really, really good job, and I've noticed that they've been consistently good every year for the past 10 years. Now, I can't remember if they've had an off year or not, but I'm sure they have. But you know what? Overall, I've been finding that the Americans have been a team to beat more often than they're not. And Canada did great against them. But I will say this, though. The next game, they played Russia, and they got spanked 6-0. And the reason I think it was a good thing is because I think sometimes Canadian teams can get a little bit too cocky. And for me, I gotta be honest, I felt that 6-0 loss might actually help them have a better chance of winning the gold medal this year. And the reason I say this is because I feel that those guys needed to get a real dose of reality. And the reason I feel that way is because I think sometimes there's too much of an assumption that, oh, well, we're just going to win. And that's a really, really unhealthy assumption in my personal opinion. So, I just think that that 6-0 loss might have been a good thing. If they end up winning the gold medal, I think it will actually be a part of why. Because they had a game to understand reality and understand that, hey, we're not just going to show up and win every time we play, unless we play our absolute best. And as long as we can get our team together, have solid goaltending, solid team chemistry, and win the game and play well. I mean, clearly Canada did not play the way they needed to against Russia. They got spanked. And I've never seen Canada get spanked that badly at a World Junior Hockey Championship ever since I've started watching the tournaments. And I can't remember when I started watching it, but in all the years that I've watched it, I have never seen Canada lose so badly and perform so badly in a single game in the World Juniors. Now, I've seen Canada have bad years. Last year in Vancouver, for example, but they didn't lose their games 6-0. They just sucked when they needed to win in the quarterfinal round. And it's especially bad when they lost on home soil in Vancouver. That's embarrassing. But not even getting a medal, in my opinion, was what was embarrassing. I mean, even if they would have at least won a bronze, it would have been an easier pill to swallow. But, but I gotta say, I'm glad that Canada has bounced back with a big win against Germany, 4-1, and they won 7-2 today over the Czech Republic, which I'm very happy about. But all of a sudden, Canada is playing a little bit better. Now, I know that traditionally the Czech Republic and the Germans, usually over the years, Canada has defeated those teams more often than they've lost to them. But still, looking at the way they've played 2 games in a row, that gives me a lot of hope going into the quarterfinal round. In fact, I believe Canada won the pool. So that's really, really good. I just hope that Canada can keep it going. And to everybody else in the World Juniors, because I know I have American viewers for sure, and to everywhere else that in all the other countries of viewers that watch this tournament and have countries in the tournament, best of luck to you guys. But man, I hope Canada can do what they did in the Spengler Cup today. Or sorry, what our Canadian squad did in the Spengler Cup today. So, anyways, as you can tell, it's pissing down rain where I am right now. But I want to talk a little bit about the channel. So in 2020, I'm planning on rebranding the channel. I'm not going to be the Rockzilla 94 anymore. I don't like the name. It's too damn wordy. So I'm going to still stay on. I'm still going to keep... My name's still going to be kept as a familiar name. But it's now, in August, I'm rebranding to just Rockzilla. I feel that is by far the best decision. It's a much better name, much easier to say than the Rockzilla 94. It's too wordy. So I'm simplifying the name, and I also have another surprise that I'm planning on unveiling in February. But that's what you can expect from me. I'm going to continue to do hockey and football, hopefully, and baseball videos. I expanded to doing baseball videos in 2019. That is not going anywhere. I've been really enjoying those videos, and there's been a lot of great stuff to talk about ever since I've started talking about baseball, including the Brewers finally changing their uniforms, the Padres going back to brown, which they should have never left from, in my opinion, and the Twins bringing back one of my favorite baseball jerseys, their powder blue throwbacks. So it's been a lot of great stuff, and that Minnesota Twins jersey will be a future video topic of mine. I just don't know when I will get around to it. But yeah, basically I'm going to stick with what I've been talking about in 2019 and those big changes to my channel that are coming, the new name and something else I'm planning on unveiling in February. But yeah, not really a whole lot of changes, big changes that I'm planning for. In the new year, I'm planning on launching a weekly podcast that will be still here on YouTube. But every Sunday I'll upload a video in a podcast format called Rockzilla's Weekly Roundup. And I'll share some weekly thoughts about uniforms every Sunday. That's going to be my plan. However, as I have mentioned on my Discord, I noticed there has been some videos as of late that have been getting very, very little views, not even generating a dozen views. And as I said on my Discord, and I'll say it here as well, if I'm finding that there's not enough, if I'm not even able to get 10 to 15 views after 1 or 2 weeks of having a video uploaded in my weekly roundup series or podcast, I might just end up scrapping it to focus on other things I still need to catch up on, which for the record, I have a lot of stuff to catch up on. But anyways, I just want to let you guys know I am still going ahead with that. So don't think that I'm getting rid of it. Don't think that I'm scrapping it. And on a random note, I can see that my car window is starting to steam up. So if you hear a loud fan, that's what it's for, to try and get rid of that condensation on my window from me being in my car talking for over 20 minutes. But yeah, so don't worry. I don't want people thinking that I'm not going to do the weekly roundup series or weekly roundup program on the channel every Sunday. I will be going ahead with it no matter what. And I'm going to have it for at least the first 2 to 3 months of 2020. But if I find that I'm not even able to get 10 views on each video after, having them up for a week or two, I think it'd be probably for the best if I spent the time filming those videos, trying to catch up on other videos that I still need to do. And the reason that I'm a little bit concerned about that is because, truth is, it does take me a lot of time more often than not to sit down and film videos. A lot of times I film them and it takes me like 4 to 10 takes to get a video, and it can be very time consuming. So you know, I just want you guys to know that I do spend a lot of time putting my videos together, and if I'm going to be doing that every week, I want to make sure that I'm spending that time on something that I know is going to be, you know, what's the term for it? It's something that's going to be worth my time, and it's going to be worth your time too. Because if very few people are interested in my weekly roundup and talk about uniforms every week, then I think I'd rather spend that time giving more time towards videos that I want to catch up on, such as, like, say for example, talking about the Jacksonville Jaguars uniforms in a full video, or just something random like that, or the NHL All-Star Game uniforms that we've seen over the past 2 seasons, which I still to this day have not done any videos on. And by the way, I hear the All-Star jerseys will be the same as last season, which, you know, I think that's okay, but I would prefer if they did something a little bit more creative. I think royal blue and yellow jerseys would look really great this year, but anyway, I mean, it could be worse. But I just wish they would go back to the NHL Shield on all of the jerseys again, instead of the individual players' teams logo on the front. I mean, the All-Star Game should be about the NHL Shield being on the front rather than these jerseys being over-glorified fashion jerseys. That's my opinion. But anyways, you guys, I will have one more kind of wrap-up-ish video for 2019, and I will try and film that tonight if I have time. But anyways, you guys, I hope you have enjoyed this video. And on that note, folks, take care. And of course, as always, you guys, bye for now. And one more final note, folks. Happy New Year. I wish you all a great new year. And on top of that, a great new decade for all of you. All right, guys, take care. And of course, as always, bye for now. And Happy New Year.